Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. We're at 200 subscribers right now. At 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving away one of these Logitech MX Master 3S mouses. I'm getting this one for myself pretty soon. If I hate it, I'll give away something different that's actually good. But this is a fantastic mouse from what I've heard, and we're going to be giving one of you one of them when we hit 1,000. So make sure to hit that button so you are entered when we get there. Well, I was not expecting this to happen. I started Coding Bootcamp about 2.5 months ago now. I've been learning a lot about front-end web development, and we're now starting to learn a little bit about the back-end, Node.js, Express, things of that nature. As a part of my education, obviously, eventually I want to land a position as a developer. So I thought maybe at this point in my journey, it'd be a good idea to kind of get an idea of what the application process looked like for somebody trying to get into the industry. So I spent a few hours sprucing up my resume and hopped online and found a position, and it looked like an okay fit for me. In fact, it looked more than okay. So the job is for an entry-level, part-time WordPress developer. So not incredibly technical. Definitely not a full stack position. It's not like I won't get the title of software engineer if I land this position, but it's also not a terrible angle to enter the market at. So the qualifications looked reasonable for me. In fact, in the description, they were specifically asking for entry-level people who had just finished a coding bootcamp. And while that isn't me, I'm pretty close to that. So I'm going to be finishing my coding bootcamp in August. So it seemed like a decent fit, and on a part-time schedule, I could balance bootcamp with a part-time job as well, on top of, scaling back my current business that I have. So I applied. I emailed my resume to the staff recruitment center that was posting the ad, and in that email, I sent a quick Loom introducing myself and talking about my qualifications, and I sent it off. About a week later, I heard back from that staffing agency, and he wanted to schedule a screening interview. So we talked about 3 or 4 days later for 25, 30 minutes about the nature of the position. This was not a technical call. He wasn't, he was just part of the recruiting, basically grabbing all of the applications and resumes that come in and doing a first kind of line of screening. So about a week later, I heard from an executive of the company who, again, this was a non-technical interview, very behavioral based, kind of telling me about just on a large scale what the position was going to be like. And then finally, about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I got in touch with the lead engineer. It's a small staffed company, very small staffed. It's like 25 employees total, and there's 3 engineers. So we had a bit of a longer talk. It was about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Just so you guys are up to speed with where I'm at, I have not had an interview in general in about 7 years, I think 6 or 7 years. I've been running my own business. I haven't had to, I've done a couple of interviews on my end of hiring people, but actually being in the hot seat as somebody who is potentially going to be an employee, it's been a long time since I've been in that position. So that was interesting. I made sure to do some breath work beforehand to kind of chill out. That was quite helpful. So the questions up front were pretty general, behavioral. Tell me about yourself. I kind of gave a brief introduction into my background in general, why I'm at a coding bootcamp, etc. And then we moved on to a sort of a technical part of the position. Now, this position, if I take it, is not going to be very technical. The questions that were asked were basically HTML and CSS related. There was a script that he had written, or rather some boilerplate with some placeholder, footer, navbar, etc., with some potential styling. I didn't see that in a browser specifically, but he told me to look at this code, tell me what you think would go wrong. And the answers I came up with were basically, there were 2 major problems. The first one was that the HTML was not semantic. So especially from a marketing firm, for parsing this in search engines, that would be a problem. They're not going to be as relevant with their SEO if they're not using semantic HTML. The second one was with CSS. A lot of the properties were static, or a percentage of the viewport width rather than being relative to their parent elements. So you're going to have eventually some problems when you're resizing these elements, the page, where you're going to have spillover and other elements are going to kind of plop on top of each other. There were also some issues with lack of media queries, so not accounting for mobile interfaces where there's like breakpoints where the interface changes based on the size of the viewport. So that was obviously going to be a problem. And then there were some not deprecated, but antiquated syntax that they were using and elements that they were using, like float. It was being used for the wrong reasons, which was like to position an element on a page rather than to use it roughly for what it's for, which is to wrap other elements around that specific element that you're using float on. Now, float, I actually didn't bring up personally. He brought that up after. I didn't bring it up because I haven't seen float very much in code bases. I don't think I've seen it at all, really, actually. It's not a very popular element by my limited experience, so it wasn't something that I knew was being used wrong. So I didn't bring it up. In hindsight, I think I would have brought it up as just like a note to say I need to do a little bit more research into this particular CSS property to, evaluate how it's being used. That probably would have been a good placeholder answer to express that I'm concerned about it since I don't know what it is. That's definitely something that I would do in hindsight. And after that, it was pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. It was a relaxed walkthrough of what the position would look like. He showed me basically, like roughly what I would be doing. It seems like it'll be relatively tedious, which I know sounds like bad, and maybe I don't want to like do this forever, but there is an end to this particular task they're doing. So basically what they did is they use WordPress as their primary CMS, but they've been in business for 25 years. So they actually had a proprietary CMS that they were on before, and they need to migrate from their proprietary CMS over to WordPress. So there's about 70 websites that they have that need to make that transition. I think it would be pretty tedious to learn, which for me is good. There's that like increasing repetition. Really, frankly, just getting reps in would be a really solid way, I think, to learn quickly. So, and there would be an end to this. So the position would either terminate after that, or it sounds like they're currently on the verge of picking up some larger clients, and that would potentially transition my trajectory into kind of moving up that particular ladder. Pretty shortly after the interview, I got a call from one of the guys that was interviewing me, and he was asking me kind of informal questions about my availability after boot camp, whether or not I would be able to go full-time, and some casual, informal compensation questions. Honestly, I'm not sure the best way to navigate this, but for the meantime, I thought the best thing to do would be to kind of table the compensation side of things. It wasn't posted in the job posting. It's going to be relatively low. I'm definitely not going to be making 85, 90K out of the gate. That's not what I'm expecting. But it seemed to me, I don't know. You can, if you have advice for this, please leave it down below. But it felt to me like without an actual offer, it was best to kind of skirt around more or less the compensation side of things for the time being. And if they want to submit an offer, I would be able to approach that problem at that time. So again, I don't know if that was the best move, but it was just on the fly. I was on the phone. That's what I did. So anyways, I feel really good about getting this interview so early into learning how to code. I know that this is not like a heavily technical position, but I also don't see it as the worst way to enter the market. The market's really tight right now. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, I just wanted to give you that quick update. That is where I'm at. So I wish you all luck on your journey as well, and I will give you updates as time goes by. Peace.